Rob, you were talking about Club 321 the other night. How come I didn't get the invite to all the clubs you went to last night? You hit the scene.
It was
here
still
in Miami.
Business oriented.
Oh, was it?
A lot of notes.
Oh, was
a lot
it?
of pictures.
You told me
and
VIP party. You said South Beach, NFLPA party. Anything else that you left me out on?
I feel like this is a transition of sorts. You were the mayor of Miami, and it's starting to move for the next 3 days. The tide is starting to turn. We're starting to build momentum here with Team Higgins.
You're the one that went out last night, and I'm the one with the Cuban coffee in my hand because waking up at 6:45 to get here on Radio Row, I'm not used to doing that.
If
I'm used to staying up
back
until 6:45.
at Hotel Room Club 321 by 9:45, does it really count as me going out? Does it? Does it? We divided and conquered in a very big way last night in terms of the host committee. We hit, I think it was 4 events all in all, from LaKendria and our team hitting the BET Gospel Celebration to we had a few of us went over to the NFLPA party to see what they did there. We had some of the rest of us go over to the host committee's VIP party. You name it, we were checking it out. I tell you what, just to prove it was business, it was pretty cool to see at the NFLPA party the way they took a film studio and converted it into this massive party, indoor, outdoor. But like I said, back to Club 321 by about 9:45, which was pretty good.
All I hear is party, 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 and all I'm thinking is I wasn't invited to any of these parties. But that's okay. You can make it up to me next year for
That's
Super
right.
Bowl 55 because I'm sure I'll get the invite from you to those parties. Welcome to the Tampa Bay 55 podcast, by the way, here on Radio Row from Miami. This is episode 5. I feel like it's day 55 as we're here. I mean, the days are blending together. We're having a blast, though, man. Yesterday, everybody you could think of was on Radio Row. I mean, we saw Katie Couric and Martha Stewart were here as well. I don't know if you saw those two.
We've got Tony Dungy in the background.
Yeah, Tony Dungy's hanging around here.
You name it. I think we've seen him. I'll be to be totally honest though. I'm starting to run out of clothes, and we've been here forever.
You haven't recycled any jackets yet.
No, we
I've been
have
impressed.
not recycled any yet. But I don't know what day of the week it is or anything else. But at some point there could be a quick run to the Miami Mall to buy some fresh out of the plastic shirts.
Let's go. Let's go to Dolphin Mall. We'll go on a little shopping spree, you and I. We'll treat ourselves for all the hard work here on Radio Row.
Just got to survive till Monday afternoon.
Good luck with that. That's, of course, the handoff officially to Tampa Bay. So we're here on Radio Row. We're going to have so many guests today. This is going to be a packed show.
I love it. I mean, the people that we're getting a chance to talk to are providing such great views in terms of what they think goes into a great Super Bowl, what they think of our hometown in Tampa Bay, how excited they are for next year. It's pretty cool.
You want to talk about partying? No one knows how to do that better than Ryan Fitzpatrick. Fitzmagic's going to join the pod here
How
as well.
about that? A familiar face.
Yes.
Believe it or not, I believe there's been rumors he was at Gasparilla last weekend and having quite a good time.
I heard that. So we're going to get Ryan Fitzpatrick's take on not just Tampa Bay and the experience he had there, but also get a little Jameis talk in there as well. So we'll have that coming up on the podcast. Andrew Hawkins, there's a bromance that goes on between you two. I'm a little jealous on this side of the table, I'm not going to lie, but he had some really cool perspective, somebody that also spent some time living in Tampa.
I feel like our relationship keeps getting closer and closer, Ryan.
Yeah,
but
not on the level of Hawk,
it's
though.
not on the level of Hawk just yet. He's our guy. You'll hear he spent a tremendous amount of time in Tampa, an honorary Team Tampa Bay member. I just love his stuff and what he's doing. Content-wise, if you aren't following @Hawk on Twitter and just about every other social media outlet,
his Instagram videos
you got to do it. It's incredible, and to get a chance to visit with him is phenomenal.
Former NFL wide receiver, also with the NFL Network. He does so much now, and he will join us on the podcast a little later on today. We are here in Miami. I mentioned I'm from Miami. Went to Dr. Kropp High School down here. So I got a little rivalry with Norland High, which was just up the road from my high school. Xavier Rhodes, the former FSU star and Vikings cornerback, went to Norland. So we kind of joked a little bit about our high school rivalry when he joined me yesterday here on Radio Row.
Oh, yeah. And he's had a heck of a career with the Vikings. No stranger to South Florida and how his accolades from a prep standpoint, that's for sure.
So we also talked a little bit about Raymond James Stadium, and he said there is one thing that scares him about Ray J. One thing, and you're going to hear that coming up in our interview, so that'll be pretty cool. Darren Rovell also stopped by from the Action Network. He has a love affair for one brewery in Tampa Bay.
He does.
A big love affair for one brewery.
And a certain restaurant down in our neck of the woods, which you'll hear about. But he, in the sports business world, is synonymous with the Super Bowl. You'll hear that is his Super Bowl. He prepares for it like nobody else.
And also, of course, social legacy and impact. We're going to have some of the key figures that you'll hear about leading up to Super Bowl 55 in Tampa Bay next year. Claire Lessinger, of course, with your team. LaKendria Robinson as well is going to join us. We've got so many guests today on this program. It's going to be packed, Rob.
Just keeps picking up steam to game day. We appreciate all the listeners that have continued every step of the way. I understand we keep picking up some more as well, so we're treating them to some really special guests, that's for sure.
Andrew Hawkins is somebody who is very special to you, and I've never really known someone to become best friends with a guy who just kind of like hit him up on Twitter and was like, hey, let's hang out. But that's exactly what happened with you two. That's how the bromance began.
I'm not encouraging people to slide into my DMs, but that's what Andrew did, and it led from that to a Sunday brunch, to just a great relationship, and I value his friendship, and he's an incredible guy.
Former receiver, obviously, for the Browns and Bengals. You had a cup of coffee with the Patriots as well. Now with NFL Network, you do so much stuff, my man. I'm just so glad you're able to take a few minutes to hang out with us. He mentioned you're an honorary Team Tampa Bay member.
Yes.
You spent some time. You actually lived in Tampa in the offseason, right?
I spent all my off seasons in Tampa. My daughters, my twin girls, who will be turning 5 in March, were born at St. Joe's.
Oh,
so
man.
I'm a Tampa guy, man.
How cool. I mean, obviously it's a little bit of a tough subject, but with Kobe's passing, I'm sure #GirlDad, that's got to hit home for you.
No, absolutely.
You having 2 young girls as well.
Absolutely. And even the hashtag is just like a testament to kind of his legacy and the reach he has to even in his passing, to motivate people to understand the gravity of how you raise your girls and being proud of that, just as proud as a dad is proud of his son, he should be of his girls. And that's something I've always tried to live by. And again, looking up to people like Kobe, which is, again, just a tragic situation for everyone a part of sports and even beyond, because he's an icon. And, you just hate to see that kind of tragedy for him and his daughter.
As far as Tampa's concerned, in the city of Tampa, you obviously have a love affair with it. What makes it such a perfect place to host a Super Bowl, which we're going to do next year for 2021?
I just think it's I'm a very small town guy, right? So I come from, I'm talking a population of 18,000 people in Western Pennsylvania, okay? Everybody knows everybody. And
can't hide anything.
If you're not, if you're not my cousin, you're my cousin or my cousin's cousin, right? One of those places. Now I live in Los Angeles now, which is the complete opposite, and it is, so much going on, so many pockets of life and people. Tampa is the perfect blend of everything. It's a huge city that has so much to offer, but it also has that family feel to it. And there's just not a lot of places. You feel like the country is so big, but it's just a rare mix of the two, and I think that's what makes it special.
Now that you're on the other side of the fence from a standpoint of being a media member as well, what makes up a good Super Bowl in your eyes?
Yeah, I just think besides the matchup on the field, right, and it's two teams that everyone has a chance, and you're like, you can't pick it either way. Even outside of that, it's just the experience, right? Super Bowl is so much about the city that it's in, the people that are around there, and you're coming into a city.
Look at you waving. You're like the mayor in here.
You know what, man? People, fans, get out of here, Dan Orlovsky. I'm busy.
It's the paparazzi.
So, you're coming into a city and you want people to feel at home, right? But you want them to feel excited about being there and things to do and the experiences you've never seen before. When you get in the game of football and when you come to so many Super Bowls, this is now my 11th consecutive Super Bowl city. You want to go somewhere and have a feel that you haven't had anywhere else. That's what's exciting about Tampa.
Tampa's the best, though.
I haven't been one.
Tampa's it, right?
Yeah, and you know who else thinks that? And we've had this conversation. Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan.
Wow.
Drink. There it is. The
Tomahawk Show.
Wait a minute.
Anytime Kyle Shanahan comes up, my man hosts one of the best podcasts. I know I'm supposed to say this is my favorite podcast.
It's okay.
It's not.
No,
it's
okay.
my second favorite. One day.
Dan Levitt's show's my favorite podcast. They're sitting right beside us. So
the Tomahawk Show. Anytime they bring up the words Kyle Shanahan, you got to drink.
Because we talk about him way too much. And that's been from the beginning, and here we are.
You know what came into my mind when I heard drink? I thought the bar on South Howard Drink. That's what came into my mind. I'm like, I love Drink. It's gone now. It's called Bar Howard.
Oh, you put that place out of business.
I might have. I actually worked for the company at one point.
But you said Kyle Shanahan loves Tampa?
Kyle Shanahan loves Tampa for that same reason. Like, when I signed with him, I was living, he's like, where do you live? I'm in Tampa. He's like, my favorite city in the U.S. Because he said it could be as fast as you want or as slow as you want, which is awesome. And it's that rare mix. Cal loves Tampa Bay.
Now,
That's a true story.
Hawk, for those that don't know, you and Rob Higgins go way back, and I'm going to step aside for the bromance here for a second because I want you,
Rob.
It
may be a one-way bromance.
I want you, Rob, to explain the story because your wife kind of questioned a little bit when you were first about to go to lunch with Andrew.
So I get this message on Twitter from @Hawk, and it says, hey, Rob, I spend my off seasons in Tampa, and I'd love to catch up. I love what you guys are doing with the Sports Commission. I'd love to catch up and learn more. I said, let's do it. So we set up a time. It was like a Sunday morning for brunch. I'll never forget that morning. My wife, Casey, says to me, hey, what do we got going on today? I said, well, I'm going to brunch with some dude I met on Twitter. She goes, what do you mean? Yeah, the guy DM'd me. I mean, and she looks at me
so
like
wait a minute,
I'm
somebody
crazy.
slid into your DMs and now you're going to brunch with them? What are you doing?
Put the shoe in the other foot for once, Rob. Imagine how ridiculous you sound.
Exactly. So we ended up I ended up getting the wife's hall pass to
go
to brunch with Hawk. And
a deserving hall pass.
Really hit it off and became a big fan of yours ever since. I mean, just love everything you've done. I mean,
I appreciate that, man.
From a media standpoint, what you did at that point, you still were playing.
Yeah.
And I remember you said a cup of coffee with the Patriots. He was single-handedly responsible for all of their championships.
Yeah, they're welcome.
That
New
3
England
weeks
fans.
he spent in training camp.
Yeah.
But I just remember catching up after that and saying, hey, what was the experience like in New England? And he's like, Rob, the Patriot blueprint is unbelievable.
Well,
and to think that you spent time, the number of people that maybe have gone to training camp but didn't treat it as that experience was incredible. And ever since then, I'm like, man, I got to stay connected to this guy.
No, absolutely. And so what drew me to Rob was seeing all the incredible things that he was starting to do, or not starting to do because he'd been doing it, but you're seeing, and he's just an incredible ambassador for the city. And again, if you love sports, if you love sports business, and if you love Tampa Bay, Rob is, if you love Tampa, Rob is the guy to know, right?
As I said in my live hit just a few minutes ago, I said, we've seen Dan Marino, Doug Flutie, Big Papi, but none compared to the celebrity of Rob.
One clarification, when it comes to Super Bowl tickets next year, Rob is not the guy to know. Not the guy. If you have an 11-year-old daughter that wants to sing the national anthem at next year's Super Bowl, Rob is not the guy to know. Stop sending the YouTube links.
Listen,
I'm sure she's great.
hit him up on Twitter.
But it's all good.
I'll tell my friends, by the way, to stop sending the messages for all those tickets. Hawk, as far as the Patriot Way,
yeah.
You spent training camp. You had an inside look. You got a sense of a feel of what that's like.
Right.
What did that teach you, and what did you take away from that into what you carry throughout all of your ventures that you're going through?
And that was one of the benefits of even going there. I have a notebook where I took notes on literally everything of what you see when you come in the facility, how the coaches talk, how they react to certain things, the signage they have, the messaging on the walls, their schedule, how they react to certain things that happen or approach the media. And it was just like another master's course for me and what makes them a winning organization. And it makes so much sense, man. And it was, Bill Belichick is the boss. He controls everything from the plays on the field to what you eat in the lunchroom to, how many sprints you're doing in your workouts to what the nutritionist is telling you to which interviews you're allowed to do. I was coming off the backs of graduating from Columbia, and I had so many requests for media and so many opportunities to honestly get my name out there and take advantage of being an NFL player who graduated with a master's from Columbia while they were playing. Nothing. It was every request had to go through Bill, and 9.9 times out of 10, it was no. We're worried about football, period, right? And it just made you understand, okay, this is the kind of, singular focus and understanding of who's in charge that has to happen in an organization for it to go in the right place if that person in charge is the right guy.
Last one for me. How did you come up with the idea? If you haven't seen the video yet, to all the listeners out there, of the entrances of players into the stadium on game day. He's got a video Hawk does that has gone viral in a big way to the point where you've got Pro Bowlers worried about the way they enter stadiums
affecting
because
culture.
of it. How did that idea come about?
Yeah, so as a player, again, I was just super intense. super high-strung. You know, if you play football in the NFL, especially at the position I did where I came up from the bottom and every day was me looking over my shoulder if I was going to get cut for a while, you know, I understood the gravity of each play, each practice, each time of year. It didn't matter. Anyone who plays with me says, yo, Hawk approached every single off-season practice like it was a game because in my mind, it could have been my last, right? So in this side of it, I'm just super cognizant about I always wanted to do fun content. And when I had the opportunity to get in the media, it's one thing I told my reps. It's one thing I tell every network that calls me, that if it is not an opportunity to be fun, I don't care how great of an opportunity is, it's not for me. Because on this side of it, I want to really enjoy sport and the game that has provided so much for me. So when you talk about the video, every time I look at what's going on in the culture of football and the culture of sports or anything, I try to use my insight as a player, and then I try to think, how can I make this fun? And with that entry point, it was the same thing. Like, this becoming a thing with players, right? We've seen it's like a runway. Yeah. It's like the outfits and like they almost care about that as much as they do the game. And I'm like, man, I got to think of some funny way to make this content, and that's how it came about.
Yeah, Which one were you? If you had to pick one,
the funny
guy
thing,
without the stylist, the guy with the stylist.
I was a little bit of everyone. So what you'll find in my content is, the inspiration for most of it is actually myself. I have another one coming out probably in a couple days.
How you still had
funny.
Those cargo shorts? I have no idea.
They're in my closet. So
you have a pair too?
I don't have a pair of FUBU
20-year-old cargo shorts. Exactly. Next level, man.
Well, you have no fun at all, man. I mean, that smile emanating off your face. Hawk, thank you so much for taking the time, man.
Absolutely,
It's been a pleasure to share some stories with you, and we're glad you can come on the Tampa Bay 55
I
podcast.
appreciate it. I'm so excited for Tampa Super Bowl 55.
As are we.
It's going to be a great homecoming, Hawk.
I can't wait for it.
Similar to Hawk and all his time in Tampa, what's been really cool to see is how a lot of the players from a variety of different sports who have tenures in Tampa end up having a place there, keeping a place there, falling in love with the community just like we do.
And Ryan Fitzpatrick is one of those guys who, of course, played with the Buccaneers last year. Fitzmagic truly became a phenomenon all across really the world. You want to talk about Hawk being very well dressed and put together? Ryan Fitzpatrick certainly knows how to wear some nice outfits to go viral across the country. You remember that last year? That was amazing.
No doubt. That's an outfit that's iconic in our community's sports history. Just as Fitz is, he's one of a kind. That's for sure.
Well, Fitzy, I feel like the Chiefs owe you a Prime 112 dinner or something for knocking the Patriots off that number 1 seed in Week 17. One of the biggest reasons they're here in the Super Bowl. Take me back to that game and that win and what you think it did to kind of wrap up the season for the Dolphins.
Well, we had a long roller coaster ride of a year, and it was a great way to cap it off, on such a high note. We came a long way. We fought through a lot of adversity, but what a great way to end the season. And I got some steaks sent to the house that we ate 22 ounces that we put away so far from Kansas City, and it's been fun kind of being involved in it.
You put down a 22 ouncer?
Oh yeah.
The kiddos have a little bit of it as well?
Yeah, we'll slice it up for the kids and break them up a little bit, but 22 ounces is no problem for me.
You were the best quarterback in the AFC East this year. Did you think at 37 years old that was something? I know you're confident, obviously, in your game, but to be able to hear that, it's a pretty cool statement with a guy like Tom Brady.
Well, I do appreciate that. It's not something I really take for granted, being able to go out there and play and represent whatever organization it is, but I had a lot of fun with the Dolphins this year, and the guys I got to play with this year, we really rallied and fought through a lot. So it was a rewarding season for me.
For a couple of years, you got to represent the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and be around that community. What did it mean to you to be able to put on that uniform and play in the city of Tampa, one of the best cities possibly in your career that you played in?
Yeah, Tampa was a lot of fun, and they welcomed us, my family, with open arms, and we really enjoyed being in the community and getting to know the city, and certainly fishing as well.
You can do a lot of that in Tampa.
Our kids' Gasparilla parades, and we finally did the adult Gasparilla parade, and we feel like we've really been embraced by the community. So we definitely enjoy it, and it was a great organization to play for.
I heard you went back to the adult Gasparilla parade a couple of weeks ago. Well, how was your experience with that, doing it for the first time?
Yeah, it was good. I saw some stuff I'd never seen before in my life. Experienced a few things I'd never experienced, but we had a great time.
I know your family still calls Tampa home. Do you feel like that's going to be a permanent fixture for you, the city of Tampa?
No, but for the time being. I mean, we do really enjoy it there, and we've made a lot of great friends. So for the time being, we'll stick around.
That get-up that you borrowed from DeSean. I feel like it would go really well for Super Bowl week down here in Miami. Did he lend that to you so you can wear it around South Beach this week?
No, I need to send him a text because I do think it would fit in. It might be a little hot, but I just take that zipper down a little more, show off a little more chest hair. But DeSean's, he's got quite the style, so I'm sure he has something in his closet for me.
Is it crazy that a lot of people now think of you synonymously with that moment? Did you think that it would go as viral as it did when you dressed up like that?
No, because it just started with a conversation in the locker room of me kind of making fun of him and myself, and then him throwing it back at me and saying, "You're throwing that thing on if we win," So it was kind of this moment that was just a joke between the two of us that all of a sudden blossomed into this big thing.
Super Bowl 55 is in Tampa Bay next year. You played in that stadium for 2 years. You understand Raymond James Stadium and the setup of the city of Tampa. Why is Tampa such a good place to host a big event like the Super Bowl?
Well, I think the weather is obviously a big draw, and the people. I think there's a lot of stuff going on in Tampa, especially in downtown Tampa right now, that hopefully gets finished up. Is going to be amazing for us to showcase the city. But I just think that it's a great location for people to come in, and there's a lot of good activities and a lot of good people.
You spent a couple years in that quarterback room with Jameis Winston. The progression that he showed, do you still think his ceiling is sky high, given the 5 years in the league now and what you've seen with him on the Bucs?
Well, there aren't many people in the history of the league that have thrown for 5,000 yards in a season. So he did something, historically this year in doing that. And then obviously with the 30 touchdowns and the 30 interceptions is something that a lot of people are talking about. But, the 2 years I spent with him, just very impressed with the way that he worked, how professional he was, how much he loved the game of football. Those are all things that stick with me when I think about him.
You still think he's growing as a quarterback? He still obviously has things he wants to improve in his game, but the time you spent around him, does he have that it factor to be an all-pro type of quarterback?
I mean, as a quarterback, you're constantly growing and getting better every season. I mean, I'm now going into year 16 and, still figuring things out, So it's a constant progression of just taking things that you've learned, good and bad, and applying them as you go in the future. So Jameis, he's the number one overall pick for a reason. He's got so much talent, and he's got the work ethic to go with it as well.
You're 16, 37 years old. How many more years you got left playing football?
I don't know, but I feel good right now, and I still love playing. So,
and tell me a little bit about what you're here to represent.
So, Main Event is this fun, amazing place. They're actually going to open one in Wesley Chapel in May, 50,000 square foot facility, basically, where it's games for families. It's bowling. They've got the Papa Shot, they've got laser tag, they've got a bunch of different stuff, and so they've got some cool stuff going on. And Main Event is exploding, all over the U.S. And for me, being a family guy and having 7 kids, is a place where we love to go.
Fitzmagic, always a character, has some personality. Love being able to catch up with him, Rob. And we miss him in Tampa Bay because he was a great member of our community, certainly represented the Buccaneers really well.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, though. He's sticking around at some times during the off season, so I'm sure we'll get to see plenty of him, whether it's at Gasparilla or other community
events.
He does
love his Gasparilla. One guy I will say that maybe should avoid Gasparilla is Xavier Rhodes, the former Florida State star cornerback and now all-pro with the Minnesota Vikings. Had a chance to kick back and relax on the sleep number set here at Radio Row, and Xavier did tell me there is one thing about Raymond James Stadium that scares him, and that's the pirate ship. Well, when you're working hard on Radio Row, you got to find somewhere to kick back. And, sleep number set's not a bad place to do it, huh, Xavier Rhodes?
Man, it feels great. I'm about to just go ahead and take me a nap in the next 5 minutes.
Well, don't fall asleep yet, because we got to have a conversation first. By the way, high school rivals, Dr. Crop, Miami Norland, both from the 305.
Yes.
You kicked our butt back in the day, though.
Oh, every time we met, yeah. It wasn't even close.
No, it wasn't. But you made a pretty good career out of yourself, man. Let's talk about Florida State for a second and your years up in Tallahassee. Reflecting on that, how much you grew as a player. What did it mean to you to wear the garnet and gold and play up there for Florida State?
It meant a lot, man. It was a school that half of my family was fans of, and the other half was UM fans. So just to play on that garnet and gold, and also just be the last recruiting class of Bobby Bowden was big for me and big for my family, and to have the opportunity to meet him was great.
Now, as far as your time at Florida State, I know Jameis Winston was just coming in around that time. What do you remember about Jameis and kind of his charisma and character and the way he carried himself as a Florida State Seminole?
He wasn't your average freshman. He was the always, how can I say it, try to compete with Eli, with EJ. EJ. He always tried to compete with EJ, man, saying he was faster than him, he could run faster than him, he can throw farther than him. it was always something, and that showed it right there that he was a competitor and he always wanted to win.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback, still a possibility he won't be their QB next year.
Yeah.
Why do you think Jameis Winston deserves another shot to be the quarterback in Tampa Bay?
Because one, he a leader. He's going to lead your guys. He always positive. And also he's going to do what he need to do to win the game. So that's what he's been doing all his whole career. They just got to give him the opportunity and to do that, which they have. But they got to work with him and try to help him out a little bit.
I mean, he's still young, right? Do you still see a lot of promise in his game that he could turn himself into potentially an all-pro type of quarterback?
Oh yeah, definitely, man. Everybody have that potential. He definitely have it too. Like I say, he's a great leader. He have great qualities about himself. And it's just for him to tap into that and them to tap into it for him and dial some things up for him and help him out on their end, him help him out, just coming together as one and figure some things out for him.
So we got the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay next year. In 2021,
heard about
it's coming
that.
to Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
You've played in Raymond James Stadium a few times. What's that venue like, and why is it a perfect place to host a Super Bowl?
Before the game starts, I get nervous because they shoot the little cannon thing. It gets me every time. But it's a great stadium, man. It's going to be great weather. It's going to be a great city to be in. It's going to bring a lot to the city. It's going to bring a lot to the people that's living there. We're bringing the Super Bowl just like it's bringing in Miami and everywhere it goes. But I think it's going to be great. It's still in Florida, so we all know, like I say, the weather's going to be great.
What sense of pride would you have to be able to play in the state of Florida in your first Super Bowl with the Minnesota Vikings in Tampa Bay next year? How cool would that be?
Man, I wanted it this year. I wanted to be in my own backyard playing. But it feel great, to just be in Florida playing in the Super Bowl, having my friends and family come to that game and support me like they was back in high school.
Speaking of great players, you heard our co-chair yesterday, Derek Brooks, one of the all-time 100 greatest players, talking about the importance of restaurants around a Super Bowl.
It's big, isn't it?
And we got a chance to visit with Darren Ravel from the Action Network, a guy that's synonymous with sports business as well. And he's got a couple of favorite Team Tampa Bay local spots and products that he wanted to share some insight on.
I'm a very big fan of Cigar City Brewery, so I'm just going to throw that out there.
You have a favorite beer?
I actually do, but you're going to be really surprised. It's not like Florida Cracker or High
Let me hear it.
It's Cucumber Saison.
They actually have a very good cucumber saison.
And they haven't had it, so I went out to a Lightning game where they had the new bar over there, at the new Cigar City bar, and tried and talked to some of the people about getting it national, because obviously I don't mean to just make this all about Cigar City, but it is Cigar City and Burns. That's the two ways I relate to Tampa.
Yeah. Are you a Burns fan?
I am, although the dessert room is a bit much.
It's pretty intense.
It's
80-something pages.
It's
80-something
pages
of
very
menu.
intense. I'm not like a port guy. I do like the wine tour, but yeah, it's actually surprising because, like, being a New Yorker, like, you tend to look down on other, like, hey, do you want to have a good meal? And you're like, it's not going to be a great meal. I have all the great meals in the world. Burns is actually like one of those, like, legit establishments.
Darren Ravel certainly likes his Cigar City brewing for sure. I'm sure next year in Tampa Bay when the Super Bowl's there, he's going to make a pit stop there at one of the best breweries we have in the state of Florida.
No doubt. Sounds like he may be making his way to Burns as well. We better prepare David Laxer to get him a reservation.
You know what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to take your team out to a nice steak dinner after all of this hard work you guys have been putting in leading up to Super Bowl 55. I know Claire Lessinger is a big part of all of this hard work that you guys continually day in and day out do to be able to put on an event like the Super Bowl.
Claire's an absolute superstar. She's our chief operating officer for our Super Bowl host committee. She wears a ton of hats as part of that. One of the primary responsibilities she has is to oversee our social legacy initiative. You've heard us talk about the importance of social legacy. You'll hear us talk about it all the way throughout, and not just through the game. The importance of social legacy is that it lasts forever, and through Claire's efforts with a lot of our community leaders, that's what's happening. And to get a chance to visit with her and learn more about that was really incredible as well. For those that don't know, Claire joined our team. How long has it been now?
Oh my gosh, 7 years.
I love the backstory of it, though. We got a chance to work together on the 2009 NCAA volleyball championship when we hosted that event when she was the head coach at USF volleyball, and Claire was a part of every one of our planning meetings, really helped make sure that event went well. And as we got to know her, we started to sense she had those skills that from an administrative standpoint, and started to have that conversation about potentially transitioning from coaching. What was that like from your perspective, Claire?
Well, the opportunity to be on the host committee really gave me a behind-the-scenes look at, one, what the Sports Commission does, but how our community comes together and rallies around these major events. And it was really one of the coolest experiences. It was fun to be at the table as maybe, a specialist or a thought leader as it came to X's and O's about volleyball, but I learned so much from the host committee about the way our community works together to make sure that we roll out this red carpet and elevate the student-athlete experience, and it was just incredible. So kind of rolled out of that experience dreaming of, man, how do you work for the Sports Commission? How do you get an opportunity to do this for a living?
Did you imagine being on the other side of the table? Did you think that
point,
would come?
No, I didn't necessarily think that was a reality, but, Rob and I worked together at USF. We stayed in close contact, loved, was really appreciative of that opportunity to serve in that role on the host committee. And fast forward, here we are.
And fast forward to this past April, we got a chance to host the women's Final Four
for our
third time. And Claire was the executive director of our host committee on that one. It was fun for me just to step back and have Claire take the reins, and she did it at such an incredible level. And so now we got some news yesterday. Claire, why don't you share what the breaking news was yesterday?
Yeah, we found out we were a finalist, one of 4 cities for the next bid cycle. So extremely excited.
2025, 2026, correct? For the women's Final Four at Amalie Arena again. Which, why wouldn't they want to come back? It's paradise to play basketball in April in Tampa Bay.
It was so successful, from attendance at the events to attendance in the arena to the social impact initiatives. Again, it was just such a testament to the way our community rallies around these major events, puts them as a priority, and comes out in droves to make sure that it's a success.
I remember doing a live shot out in front of the arena, and there were so many fans, and not only just fans, passionate. They were passionate about the game of women's basketball. And obviously it helps when you have some teams like UConn and Baylor that are there playing in the Final Four in Tampa. But what are the differences maybe in preparing for a women's Final Four as opposed to preparing for a WrestleMania or a Super Bowl? Because certainly there are some differences in those events.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one about working with the client and the event organizers and understanding what's important to them. For us, our team's going to grind, and we've got some, plug and play, what we think are templates that are successful in our community, and we want to make sure that those are executed and we're leveraging our assets in our destination. But it's about making sure that we're working with our client and making sure that we're delivering what they want and what they want to see from that championship, but then making sure we also raise the bar and elevate in every possible way.
The Super Bowl has got a great social impact, and so does the women's Final Four. What were some of those things that we did around the women's Final Four that you thought were successful from a social impact standpoint?
Well, first I'll say I think it's really important that everyone understands that it's way more than the game. And so these major events come into our community, and it's about, what can we do to align maybe with the event itself, and they may have a philanthropic initiative or a philanthropic arm, but also what else can we do in our community to make sure that this leaves a lasting legacy, not just during the game week, but for years past the game. And so for the women's Final Four specifically, we did a handful of social impact initiatives, everything from Press Pass, which was mentoring tomorrow's storytellers. We partnered with the Girl Scouts of West Central Florida, identified 5 girls, our starting 5, that helped us tell our story for the months leading up and the week during. We paired them with media mentors in our community that really gave them an opportunity to develop, professionally develop. But it was an unbelievable way to work with a community organization, but also tell our story in such a unique way that was really inspiring. Then we have our Beyond initiative. Our Beyond initiative, Beyond series really was a luncheon that started back when we first hosted the Women's Final Four 10 years ago. It's evolved really into a legacy program that follows or alongside every major event that now comes to our community, and it's a commitment of ours that we'll host this women's empowerment program. It really rallies the community leaders, the influencers, and then we hope to partner with that event organizer and help tell their story as well. So whether it's bringing their C-suite, their women in their C-suite roles, or even women from behind the scenes to help talk about how they impact their championship or their major event. And so this programming has been extremely impactful, very dynamic, but we have over 800 women in our community that have participated or attended, and they are chomping at the bit at when the next program is going to take place. It's been fun to be a part of.
Before Claire mentioned the start of Beyond, and it did precede Claire. And I've always referenced it was basically a lunch at the first Women's Final Four we hosted in 2008. And I've always said there was about 20 local women of influence there. Well, we dug out the picture at this past Women's Final Four to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Beyond. And I had to exaggerate a little bit. It's kind of like my fishing. There wasn't 20. There was about 13. But now to see it grow into these 800 across all the platforms,
awesome.
Claire has breathed so much life into it and made it so palpable. And then what she's done here in conjunction with a strong group with WISE has been phenomenal, starting our very first WISE chapter. Maybe speak a few minutes on that as well.
Sure, absolutely. WISE is Women in Sports and Event. It's a national organization with local chapters. Tampa, a year ago, launched their local chapter. We came together with all three franchises as well as USF Event Export Management Program, seed funded it. Fast forward, we have 287 members, clearly a need and demand in our community, but also I think another true testament about how not just women, but our community rallies around a cause or a mission, especially that they may have in common. So it's been great to leverage that group, help service that group, but integrate them into what we're doing and supporting the events we're bringing to our community.
Clara, as far as the Super Bowl is concerned this week, what's your perspective? Because I know Rob is certainly here looking at it from his lens. What is your lens as you're here in Miami as we prepare for Super Bowl 55 in Tampa?
Sure, absolutely. Really, some of my main goals are to get around and see all of the events. I'll help on the event hospitality side, so understanding where those sanctioned events are being hosted, really, taking a good look at everything from logistics, operations, public safety, security, signage, volunteers, but then also the social legacy piece, getting out to all of those events. There's a ton of them going on in the community, understanding what Miami did, but also what some of those key pillars are that the NFL has that we'll partner with them on in our community, meeting with those key stakeholders, and just taking lots of good notes, truly being a sponge, soaking it up and getting ready to go on the clock.
We talked on our first episode with Derek Brooks about Forever 55, and while we're not quite ready to unveil all the details of the program, maybe take the listeners through the background of how we've built up to Forever 55. What's the process been like up to this point in time, and maybe where we're at today?
Sure, absolutely. I think similar to when we hosted the College Football Playoff National Championship, we're in the process of creating an advisory committee around Forever 55. That committee is the stakeholders in our community that are going to help us really identify the needs in terms of where this investment, and when I speak of investment, there'll be a $2 million investment from the host committee and the NFL combined, but being really thoughtful and strategic in where those dollars are going, that we're helping develop programs that are going to last a lifetime. And as I mentioned,
forever.
Last forever, exactly. Forward forever and last forever. And so that's what we're in the process doing right now, and we feel like we're in a really good place. We're hoping in the next couple months we'll unveil it to the community.
Claire's doing such an amazing job every step of the way with so many different facets of our host committee.
And of course, you had to get another USF Bull on the podcast.
We had to.
Former USF coach.
I thought we slid that one past you, but apparently not.
No, I did my research on the green and gold that does make appearances on this podcast. Claire, though, is phenomenal. I've had a chance to spend some time with her when we were at the opening night, the media party, I should say, on Tuesday. she's so passionate about what she does and how hard she works. Really cool to see. We actually started having a conversation about volleyball because I covered UCF volleyball. It was my first beat when I was writing for the Central Florida Future, the UCF newspaper, and she was actually good friends with Meg Collado, who was the head coach of the UCF volleyball team. So we had a little connection there. Stephanie Cerner, one of the star players, actually was on Claire's staff at USF.
This is your way to convert what was a heavy USF segment and totally flip it. Charge on, Ryan. Charge on.
I'm glad you caught on. I didn't know if you would catch on to what I was doing there.
Yeah, I caught on.
Claire's certainly a key piece to your team. And it takes an army, really, to bring the Super Bowl to town, Rob. And Claire's efforts have been phenomenal. But LaKendria Robinson is somebody else who's really working with boots on the ground to make sure that we have a lasting legacy in Tampa Bay long after the Super Bowl is gone.
Well, we feel like we've assembled truly a dream team here with this host committee, and we had to find the absolute perfect person to help lead our Business Connect initiative, and we were really lucky to do just that. So let's visit with LaKendria Robinson, our Director of Business Connect and Community Outreach, to learn more about that incredible initiative. LaKendria, for our listeners that maybe don't know about Business Connect, how would you share what the program's all about?
So Business Connect is a partnership between the NFL and our local host committee. It is the NFL Supplier Diversity Program for the Super Bowl, and it really helps connect local diverse businesses in Tampa Bay to contract opportunities ahead of the Super Bowl. So anything that deals with creating a private or public upscale event, the NFL looks to use local diverse businesses to help with those productions.
Now, I know you were looking at 300 businesses, right?
Yes.
Was what the target number was.
Yes.
Where are we in that process of identifying 300 businesses?
So over the last 2 months, to date, we have about 515 applications. And the
What a great number.
Yes.
I mean, that's an awesome start.
Just shows you how
awesome
excited
number.
people are to be a part of that program.
And we still have 2 more weeks. So we anticipate over the next 2 weeks, we'll probably get another 100 applications. So it's a really exciting process.
What is the process of whittling down to 300 for you?
So we're looking for businesses who are local to our area, so Hillsborough, Pinellas, or Pasco County. They have to be a diverse-owned business and have been in business for 3 years and provide a service that the NFL is looking for. And so out of the 515 applications or so, we will look for the best of the best in a myriad of business categories that the NFL looks for and choose from there.
For an interested business, how do they go about learning the criteria as well as applying?
So all of the information is outlined on our website, so tampabaylv.com. Luckily, they actually don't have to go to the Business Connect page anymore because our fabulous creative team put a big red bright box on the homepage. So anyone that's interested, they go to our website, click on apply. It lists all the eligibility requirements. It also lists the categories that the contractors are looking for and the application itself.
Now, you will comb through all of those 500 plus applications.
I will comb through with a fine-tooth comb, Ryan, every single application.
Have you started looking at them so far at this point, or are you waiting till we get all of them in?
So I just kind of skim them just so when I'm out in the community and I'm meeting with groups and meeting businesses, I have a fairly good idea of who has applied. So it's more of a name recognition. And so I skim through them and make sure that they look okay and that we're getting a good amount in various categories, but I won't start the hard vetting until after the deadline.
It's got to make you excited and really just get the sense of pride with Tampa Bay when you've got all of these really, really well-done minority-owned and locally owned businesses that want to be a part of this program.
Yes, and they are coming out in large numbers. They are reaching out to me directly. They're reaching out to my counterpart at the NFL, really excited and wondering how they can get involved, if they qualify, are there opportunities for them. We've gotten really great feedback from the community in terms of the transparency of the process, the integrity of the process, even the responsiveness of our team, I mean, everyone's just been really, really excited.
What are some of those business categories or business lines that we're specifically looking for?
So, of course, we're looking for catering, food and beverage, because you can't host anything without feeding people because no one will show up. We're also looking for event planning, event production, decor, florists. We're also looking for things that are required to build out the Super Bowl campus, so your general contracting, portalets, concrete barriers. Also looking for HVAC and those sorts of things, any and everything that a potential NFL contractor could need that they won't have to bring in from somewhere else.
I'll tell you, when you're walking through, whether it be the convention center or Super Bowl Live or the experience, there's a lot that goes into it. You think about the number of businesses that have an opportunity here to be connected with the NFL, everything from staging to you name it. It really is exciting that these local businesses could have some sort of piece in putting together the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay next year.
Yes, it's an incredible opportunity, especially from a contracting perspective, because, you know, the NFL has done a really, really great job of making sure that they are laser focused on including intentionally our local diverse businesses. But it's a great opportunity for our local businesses to learn how to do business on such a large scale. When you've got to come in and set up for an event in 2 hours and then break down 2 hours later because there's another event to follow, you know, it's really a learning lesson for our businesses, for them to get some really great experience and then translate that into doing business in our local market.
Yeah, there's no guarantee in full transparency that they'll get a contract.
That is correct.
I think they're positioned for success from that standpoint, but some of the other tangible benefits from a professional development standpoint are truly incredible.
Yes, so as you mentioned, there are no guarantees that every single vendor will get a contract. We do help prepare through our professional development workshops businesses to increase their likelihood of getting a contract. We really help them prepare, speak the language of the contractors, ask the right questions, and know how to answer questions thoroughly. There's also incredible networking opportunities where they not only get to meet other businesses in our community, but they get to meet with our local corporations that maybe they've had a hard time getting in front of. And so we, with the backing of Business Connect and the NFL, we really try to make sure that we are leaving a legacy for the businesses even after the Super Bowl leaves.
You hit on the key word there. It's the building of the game plan for future events that we're so excited about, with LaKendria helping put that all together for us, so that, you know, the next time we hopefully host a college football playoff national championship or a women's final four or a Super Bowl. You know, we have this great group of businesses that we can turn to in these different business category lines to be a part of it.
Going to be really cool to see how many local and diverse businesses get an opportunity to work with the Super Bowl and to be a part of what's going to be such a massive event in our town next year. It's such a cool program, Rob, Business Connects, and how it kind of intertwines with the Super Bowl coming to town.
Well, kudos to the NFL for creating this initiative that will help prop up and grow our small businesses. And again, we're so lucky to have LaKendria helping lead the way from that standpoint. So
I know you're going to be going around town a lot today. Are you going to hit up Gronk Beach 1 to 7 p.m.? You're going to have some time to go out and check out the scene down there?
I do not believe I'm going to make it to Gronk Beach. Can you cover that for us? Any chance?
I think I can, yeah. I actually have a connection through my agent, so I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to go down there to Gronk Beach, and I'll make sure I report back on the times that are going to be had there, because I'm sure it's not going to be any fun at all.
I want to make sure that our listeners understand that only 50% of this podcast has an agent. So who is big time and who is not?
You're the one getting the invites to the parties, not me, my man. What do you got on the docket coming up today?
Well, there's nothing. You hear the term Casual Friday sometime in business. This is anything but a casual Friday. This is going to be a dead sprint as well. Really, what we call today is Future Host Friday. And so the NFL puts us through an entire day of some of the key aspects of the event. We're going to start over at their headquarters hotel and get together as a group there. We're going to do a tour of Super Bowl Live. I've already been over there. informally touring myself probably 4 or 5 times already this week, but we're going to hear it from their perspective as well. From then we go over to the Volunteer Command Center and get a great presentation from their volunteer director here from a host committee standpoint, who our director of volunteers has been visiting with all week. Then we're going to sit and visit with each of the NFL special events departments and learn what they're seeing, get their perspective, continue our conversations to build our game plan. And then this afternoon is the stadium. So we'll spend a lot of time touring the stadium and getting a chance to see everything happening there.
So you are going to be a busy man. I have dinner on the docket at 8:30 at Cafe Prima. That's what I've got. That's all I've got on my agenda, other than, working hard here on Radio Row while you're out, touring the town, essentially.
We're getting it done today. It's going to be a fun day, and we thank all the listeners for everything they're doing. We're getting such great feedback.
It's been great.
I don't want to say I'm surprised, but the momentum is good heading into the weekend.
It's steamrolling ahead to Super Bowl 54 on Sunday, and then officially we get the big game with the handoff coming up on Monday. And then maybe I'll take a few days off after all the hard work.
You've earned it. The way you've carried this podcast, Ryan, it has been awesome.
Definitely going to need a nice cold one after this week, that's for sure.